Bobby Kevin here from MMA-News.se. I'm standing here with Chris Leben. First off, Chris, I want to thank you so much for this past week. We've been following you with the video blog.
Yeah, no problem. It's been awesome having you guys.
We appreciate it so much. Training, be at your house, playing video games.
Right on. Yeah.
Really fun.
No problem at all.
Regarding your training week, or the training camp that we followed the last week up to the fight, basically we've seen in the videos you had kids in the background, you had your dog, you let your students come in and watch you fight or watch you train. Do you feel this? You don't get distracted or lose focus during your training camp having all these people around you?
You know, kind of my view is that you know, martial arts is my life. Fighting is my life. A lot of people are, you know, they get so intense and so focused, you know, camp has to be private, and they're so nervous and so built up about their fight that they don't even get to enjoy their life. You know, for me, you know, I want my dog, I want my family there, you know, I want to have my students there, I want them to see what they're capable of, you know. So for me, it's a way of life, you know. So, you know, the fact that I've been fighting for 9 years now, and you know, I plan on continue fighting for a few more, you know, if every single fight I were to block all that away, I'd be missing out on a huge chunk of my life. And you know, I think a lot of fighters do that, and I think, you know, that's a cause for them to get burnt out. You know,
yeah.
I mean, really, you know, as long as it doesn't affect my training, I'm okay with it.
You never feel frustration after fight if it doesn't go the way you planned? You're like, damn, why did I let all these people in? Or you feel any anger? Or no. I mean, you know, it doesn't matter if I win or lose. After a fight, I'm gonna look at the fight. I'm gonna evaluate. Okay, what went right, what went wrong. I also look at my camp the same way. You know, what went right with my camp and what went wrong with my camp. You know. We did this, we did that, you know, maybe I need to cut this out of my diet, this didn't work too well, maybe training this much at this time, or we did too much of this and not enough of that, you know. But honestly, I've never had a problem with, you know, having some people, you know, some people in the gym. And it's funny that you asked, because, you know, it's actually something that over the years I've changed. I used to have a closed practice when I was getting ready for a fight, you know. But, you know, I've realized that it just makes things easier on me and easier on everybody else. And you know what? It's only a problem if you make it a problem. You know, if you don't make it a problem, it's not. Do you see yourself as a role model for all your students?
I do. Inside the gym, I definitely see myself as a role model for them. You know, Lord knows I've made my mistakes outside of the gym, you know, but my home, you know, is Ultimate Fight School, you know, and you know, I love working with and pushing people.
Yeah.
You know, my goal, one of my goals in life is to be you know, a world-renowned coach. And you know, I've got pros and amateurs that, you know, and I've been coaching for several years now. I honestly think I'm a better coach than I am a fighter. I truthfully believe that, and I believe that, you know, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you know, Joe Rogan's probably still going to be the announcer, and he's going to be going, well, you know, he's got Chris Leben in his corner, so you know what that means. You know, that's what I want. That's my goal.
When do you think you're going to reach that, when you stop fighting and then you will sit by the corner?
You know, I'm going to continue. You know, I recently had a guy out of my gym make it to the you know, get into the WEC and fight. I've had guys in several pro shows. I've took guys from being one of my students went from being, you know, an 0-1 fighter or a 1-2 fighter to being the number 2 ranked pro in Hawaii, you know. So I've definitely, as a coach, I've definitely had some good things, you know. I've definitely had some good fighters and some good things to help, you know. But truthfully, you know, it's, you know, as a coach you can only do so much, you know. It's who's going to come through that door, you know. You know, once I get those, you know, those guys to come through the door, you know, then I think, you know, that kid's going to walk through and he's going to have the drive and the motivation, and
I hope, you know, at that time, whether it's now and I'm still fighting or it's 10 years down the line, that, you know, I'm able to give him everything I can to push him to take it to the next level and make it to where his goals want to take him.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people agree that we hope you start in five years, push it to 10.
Push
we
it
want
to
yeah, we want to see you more in the octagon.
Oh, thank you.
You know, a lot of fighters, they have a breaking point, right? When they fight, they get a lot of beating in the ring, and you know, they're getting desperate. They know they're being outbeaten by the opponent. How come? I mean, your fights is like you never reach that point. How come you never break?
Well, two things. One, it looks like I might not be as, you know, zapped, but I might be dying inside. I really try to hide it. Fake it till you make it. That's one of my rules. I tell my guys, you know, if you're dead dog tired, just don't let them know. Maybe then they'll fold before you. And two, you know, I say, you know, the same thing. I believe the same thing that I tell my guys, and that is, your fight is a very small window of time that's going to define your future. It's going to define your existence. It's going to define who you are. In other words, I put months and months into training for one fight, okay? Hundreds of hours of training go into a maximum of 15 minutes, okay? Fuck it, man. That 15 minutes, it's all or death, you know? Because you know what? In 15 minutes, no matter what, I know it's going to be over, you know? So why should I? Why not just go for broke? There's no reason not to. You know, and one more thing on that subject. Lastly, you know, all our troops that are out there fighting, God bless them. You know, they're the ones that are you know, really, you know, out at war and in battle. You know. What I tell my guys is I say, look, it's not really war, it's not really battle. Yeah, it's a fight, but it's a sport. There's judges there and there's a ref there, and they're there for your safety. Not to mention, you've got me in your corner, and you know I'll throw in the towel if it looks that bad. So, you know, you don't even have to worry about whether to quit or not, okay? There's other people there to make that choice for you. You just give it your all, and that's the same thing that I believe with myself.
BJ Penn got a lot of heat from Dana White because he lost his motivation and training based on he lives in Hawaii and it's not the same type of training here as in the mainland. Have you ever heard any similar talk from Dana White about your training style, or your training camp, or the way you train up to the fights?
Well, first things first. BJ, I've trained with him. He's one of the hardest. He's one of the most motivated and hardest training guys I've ever worked with. That's why he's pound for pound the best fighter in the world. You know.
Yeah, but that was just based on Dana White's talk.
Yeah. But you know, having said that, you know, I believe that it's hard for some people. You have to find different motivations. You know, when it comes to fighting, you have to find different motivations why you're stepping in the octagon, and you have to have a motivation why you're stepping in the octagon. When I first started fighting, it was to prove, not to everybody else, but to myself, that I was worth something, that I was tough enough, you know? I couldn't read, I had a lot of problems in school, you know, so, you know, life was hard, and I had to prove to myself that I was tough, you know? Now my motivation is to motivate my students at my gym, to show them what's possible. And I think about that and I channel that. I think that maybe possibly, you know, BJ as sometimes has lost his focus on what his reason for stepping in the octagon is.
Fighting.
You know, he's accomplished so much already that, you know, I think it's sometimes he may have lost his reason to find that drive.
So basically, Dana have never been calling you up and say, hey, you got to train harder.
Yeah, did I diverge from the question a little bit? You know, Dana's never asked about my, you know, questioned my training. Fact of the matter is, it definitely shows. You know, I've been prepared for fights, and I've been unprepared for fights. I mean, you know, Rochelle was a terrible time in my life. You know, and it showed. You know, when I went out and I fought terribly. You know. You know, having said that,
Dana may not have said it, but you know, I've definitely been more prepared than others, and you know, part of that is just, you know, is life stuff. You know, I've allowed life stuff to get involved with my training, and I've allowed, I've made a lot of mistakes outside of the ring, and those have affected my performance inside of the ring. Yeah. You know, no matter what's going on, you know, things have really changed. My focus, you know, I've learned that I have to separate my gym and my life. And sometimes, you know, I allow my family and I allow my dog in. Yes, I work with the kids. Yes, I teach classes. Yes, but when it's time to train, it's time to train. When it's time to get out of bed and go to work, you got to get out of bed and go to work. And something that I didn't do in the past is look at this like a job. And now I look at this like a job, like a professional.
You probably mentioned to a lot of American media that covering MMA about the fight right after Simpson, and how you prepared the last 10 days, or it was probably around 10, 12 days.
Yeah, I had about, well, I mean,
when you actually stepped into the octagon with Akiyama.
You figure I fought on Saturday, I got home on Sunday.
You flew back to Hawaii.
Yeah, I flew back to Hawaii on Sunday. I think it was Monday morning I was getting the call. You know, and then you got weigh-ins, so, you know, a week in the next Friday, so I had about 10 days till weigh-ins at that time. How did I prepare?
Yeah. I mean, how did you change from your fighting style of training with Simpson and then
we did a couple things. Okay, we looked at it. The first thing we said is, okay, how are we going to look at this? And we said, we're going to look at this as it's the same camp, as you've been training for Akiyama the whole time, and Aaron Simpson was a hard sparring match. So I just jumped right back onto my training camp, jumped right back onto a lot of things that I was doing. You know, we tried to make some last minute adjustments as far as, okay, Akiyama's a judo player, so what did I do? I brought in the best judo guys in Hawaii, and I thank those guys for coming in. They came in, you know, they threw me on my head a bunch and helped me out. You know, and you know, his height was a little different, and he was not afraid to stand. So we tried to make those corrections as quickly as possible. But other than that, you know, with only 10 days, I mean, you're hard sparring and stuff. You really can't hit too much of it. So most of the work was done. You know, it was more mental, staying focused, and just the fact that I had to deal with a body that was really beat up. You know, I trained so hard for Aaron Simpson that my body, you know, we call it peaking in this sport, and you don't peak twice. There's no twin peaks in mixed martial arts. You peak once. So it was really hard for me to try to keep it up there, you know, and cut, you know, my diet back, you know. So, you know, it was tough. I mean, it's definitely something that I don't recommend doing at this level. I've had amateurs do it, but again, they don't have quite the intense training camp and quite the intense highs and lows that I do as far as conditioning goes. And I have done it. When I fought Mike Swick, I fought again 2 weeks afterward. That was the only other time in my career I had done it. I fought Boyd Ballard 2 weeks later in Washington, but. You know, I definitely wouldn't recommend it. The sport is just too rough for somebody to be doing that.
But why did you do it?
Well, at first I said no. And the reason I said no is because I take my career seriously, you know, and I want to win. And Akiyama is a competitor. He's a tough guy, you know, and not that I wouldn't fight Akiyama, but I would want the time to prepare.